Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful morning here in New England, a little bit cool after the warm weekend. And this time the topic is Newport, Rhode Island and Boston, Massachusetts, promoting tourism for Israelis. No doubt that the region here is full of place of interest for Israelis, rich in history, some of it connected to Israel. To those who don't know, Yehuda Torres, that buried in Newport, Rhode Island in 1860, gave them money to build Mishkanot Sha'ananim, which is very critical and important in Israel, as it was the first Jewish neighborhood outside of the old city of Jerusalem. So there is a long history between the locations. So today I'm very pleased because I'll mention the people we have. First, I want to thank Inbar Merom. She is U.S. Commercial Service in Tel Aviv. She organized and was a driver behind. Thank you, Inbar, so much. And she will speak later today. We have Robin Kessler. She's a commercial consular, senior commercial officer in Tel Aviv. And I have to say, every time in Israel, I meet Robin, and it's just amazing what she does to promote New England and the U.S. in general with her team in Israel. Lihi Shoshani is for the representative of El Al. Old friend, and we worked with other organization when she was there. Thank you, Lihi. You were always very helpful. We have the Mark of Lear. He's the El Al Senior Vice President. Mark, thank you for joining us today. Evan Smith from Discover Newport. He's the president and CEO. Evan is a great friend of our organization. Was with us on the 2016 mission to Israel, but hosted numerous of Israelis in Newport, and I think that he will be amazing with the information. I'm so happy that this time we can also have Boston with us, and today, to those who don't know, it's a Boston Marathon, big day in Boston. Stacy, thank you for not standing in the line and drinking and spending some time with us. I know my daughter in Boston, she always uses it as a day to drink with all her friends and be happy. So thank you, Stacy, and I'm sure you'll give us a lot of information.
There's plenty of time for that after this call.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm coming. And again, thank you, Inbar. And Larry Katz, if you don't mind, turn off your camera and the B'Te'avon. Okay, so going to our program, first I will introduce Robin Kessler. Robin, as I said earlier, she's a commercial consular, senior commercial office in Tel Aviv. And she runs basically all the commerce promoting the United States in Israel. And Robin, thank you so much for taking your time, and the microphone is yours.
Thank you so much, Avi. We're talking about my absolute favorite activity in the world, which is travel. I think I have the job that I do as a diplomat because I love to travel, and getting to move to new places every couple of years and explore is really one of the highlights of my career. And I'm really thankful to be here today, thanking you personally, Avi, the Rhode Island Israel Collaborative, Meet Boston, Discover Newport, and of course, El Al Airlines for this terrific collaboration. As Avi had mentioned, our team, the U.S. Commercial Service at the U.S. Embassy in Israel, works to bring the United States and Israel closer together. Our two countries are already close, but there's no better way to get to know another country than through travel, strengthening those commercial ties and cultural ties. And again, that's one of those things about travel and tourism. It is very much a trade component, but it's also a personal component. And that's what's so important, bringing those pieces together. It's an integral part of the overall work that we do is travel and tourism, the travel and tourism industry, which is actually one of the largest, if not the largest, export sector for the United States. Foreign visitors that spend money in the U.S. accounts for our export dollars. And with respect specifically to Israel, the U.S. is the second most popular location that Israelis like to travel to. We're beat out by the UK, which is a little bit closer, and that makes sense. And we're really doing programs like this to help increase those numbers. You know, pre-COVID, over nearly 500,000 Israelis, over 450,000 Israelis traveled to the United States annually. And as tourism around the world continues to recover from the pandemic, we see those numbers growing again in 2022 and now in 2023, reaching those pre-pandemic levels of 2019. The New England area, Massachusetts and Rhode Island in particular, but as well the neighboring states in New England, have a really long, rich history of trade with Israel. And as Avi pointed out, those very strong cultural ties as well, which is, I think, something really unique in attracting Israelis, that cultural importance to Israelis and to the Jewish community. Many companies, Israeli companies, as they come to the US, they set up offices in New England. New England hosts many Israeli students at the phenomenal academic institutions throughout that region. And the region attracts domestic and international tourists yearly. And what we've got today for you in this program is highlighting that there is so much more to discover than what people know on the surface about Rhode Island and Boston. The destinations have a very rich history, great culinary scenes, beautiful natural environments, that's one of my favorites, and diverse attractions. And so that strong connection to the Jewish community is also something that you'll hear our partners talk about today. One other thing I would be remiss if I didn't mention, that we're very hopeful that one of the things that will make travel and tourism to the US easier for Israelis will be the visa waiver program. As I'm sure all of you know, as you follow this closely, Israel is working very hard, and nobody wants this more than the United States, to be able to join the visa waiver program. Things are progressing well. We can't say everything is done, but if you've heard our ambassador, Tom Nide, speak, he is very optimistic that this is something that together the US and Israel will be able to accomplish, and having Israel part of that visa waiver program will only unlock more opportunities to bring Israelis to the United States, and really to strengthen that bond even further that we have with the US, with Israel. So that's all I have for now. Looking forward to a great program and hearing from our specialists about these wonderful destinations. Thanks, Avi.
Robin, thank you so much. And again, you have an open invitation to visit us here. Of course, everybody else that's on the call invited to come to New England. And now we're going to have Mark Cavalier. He's a El Al Vice President to America. And I'm just going to check.
Thank you very much, Avi, and very good morning to everyone, and a good afternoon, depending on where you sit at the clock at the moment. But as you mentioned, Leaky just a moment ago, Leaky is our district sales manager responsible for all of El Al's activity in the New England area. And I'll turn it over to Leaky here in just a moment. But first, I'd personally like to thank everybody for joining us and helping us to showcase the magnificent New England area, Boston, Rhode Island, and all the other adjacent states that make up such an exciting part of the United States, whether it be for tourism, for first-time visitors, or for coming to see friends and relatives. In our case, as Israel's national airline, we take a particular sense of pride and also a strong focus on this region of the United States. We've been involved in New England and in Boston for a number of years now. Post-pandemic, we returned the service to Logan Airport about a year, just a little over a year ago, and it's had a tremendous amount of interest, again, not only for visiting friends and relatives, but also for tourism, and for many people who are coming to the United States, and instead of flying into either New York or Miami or other points in the U.S., they fly into Boston, and through our partnerships with JetBlue, they can connect beyond Boston, which acts as a small hub for us in New England. So they can spend a little time visiting in the Boston area, the Rhode Island area, or throughout New England, and then go on to other parts of the United States. So we just wanted to say hello to everybody, at least from my side, before I turn it over to Leaky. Let everybody know that El Al, your national airline, is very much here and very much present in New England and strongly supporting the entire region. And we encourage everyone to take advantage of our service. We fly nonstop 3 days a week and with easy connections 6 days a week, whether it be connections over to New York or Newark or for that matter, other parts of the United States. So please do come and visit us. Come and see the beautiful New England area, see Rhode Island and Boston, all through the Logan Airport and El Al. So with that, I turn it over to Leahy, and thank you all for your support. We're committed to taking care of your clients while they're here visiting with us.
Okay, now we have Leahy Shoshani, and Leahy is the El Al representative for the East Coast. And Leahy, it's all yours.
Thank you, Avi, and thank you for having us, El Al and me in particular, in this webinar. I'm not the manager of the East Coast. I'm only the district sales manager for New England. And this area, I have to say that as Israeli, born and raised in Israel, and living here as a Bostonian for the past 8 years, I feel very connected to both places. And one of the good things for me is that El Al started the direct flights to Boston from Tel Aviv. Actually, I came, when we relocated, we came on the 3rd flight, I think, since they opened in 2015. And since then, putting aside the pandemic, of course, we have 3 flights a week, direct flights all year long. So we don't stop, not in the winter, not in the summer. We have on Sunday evening, Tuesday evening, and on Thursday, direct flights from Boston to Tel Aviv, and from Tel Aviv they are coming the night before. So it's the same almost. It's the same with Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. We are using only the Dreamliners, which are the best planes and newest planes that we have coming to the States from Israel. We have the flights themselves. We have a very nice and a very good business class, business cabins. It's flat beds, high-speed internet. We have a lot of good things that we can give our business people, our business people that are flying, our business customers, sorry. And this is something that we are really proud of. We have the economy, we have the premium, of course. We have space available, that it's extra legroom. But the most important thing for me that I feel connected with El Al, and why I think that everyone should come and use El Al. And I'm not going to sell Israel now. I'm not going to sell Boston or Rhode Island, because there are better and smarter people on the conversation today that can do it much better than I can. But what I want to say is that El Al, for you guys from the Israeli side, of course, and from the American side, going on El Al flight is much more than an airline. It's not only a gimmick, a slogan that we have. When you fly from Tel Aviv with El Al, you feel at home, away from home. The hospitality that we are very best known for, the flights themselves, the pilots, everything that you have on El Al flights is feeling like you are at home, but away from home. And going back from the States to Israel, you are starting your descending into Tel Aviv and into the Israeliness from the moment that you are stepping in Logan Airport in Boston. And this I can say for every El Al flight, right? But why Boston is very important for us, and why Boston is very good, and I'm saying Boston as Logan Airport. Why Logan Airport is very good for everyone. It's a smaller airport than New York, than New Jersey. The flights are coming from Tel Aviv in the morning. Usually the airport is calm and empty, I can say. You have to wait for the immigration sometimes to even open. And this is a great opportunity to start the day at 6:30, 7 in the morning, go take a shower, and you can start your day at work. You can start your day on, if you want to go to visit something in Boston, or drive directly to the not hidden, but the gem in Rhode Island. It is amazing. And I had the opportunity to go to visit Avi and to go to visit Larry in Rhode Island, and I really think it's an amazing place to visit. But again, going back from Boston, the airport is not as big as the other ones. You have gateways. You have the gateway in Boston, but you can go everywhere you want in the States afterwards. It's a very easy airport to get in to the States. The immigration, the people themselves, the Bostonians are different. New England is different than every other place in the States, as I think so. We will send you the presentation because there is a lot of information on the presentation that I would love for you to know and to see about El Al and the flights to Boston. But what I wanted to say is that we are here as well. So what El Al promise and El Al delivers is the connection, is the personal relationships with us, the district managers, with the management team. So everything you need, all the questions you have, you can just reach out to us and ask whatever you need. So Avi, when he will share with you the information after the meeting, he can add my email on the meeting on the email as well. So if anyone have any question regarding El Al, regarding anything we can help with, feel free to reach out. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Lehi. And I have to say, El Al basically opened the service and a few years ago before the pandemic. And we were very happy because we were able to take the governor from Rhode Island, Gina Raimondo, in November 19, which was the first trip of a Rhode Island governor to Israel, sitting governor. And to those who don't know, she's today the U.S. Secretary of Commerce. So it was a really pleasant El Al trip, and personally, I'm gonna come soon as well. Use El Al. Evan Smith, and again, thank you, Lehi. Evan Smith is a champion of tourism for Newport, but I have to say also Rhode Island. For me, he's really a true ambassador of all what Newark represents. So I'll keep it short. Evan, you're a great friend, and please tell us. And what I'll do also, everybody that registered will receive later the recording once we edit it and all the PowerPoint, so nothing is lost. And my apology again for the technical issue. Evan?
Good morning. Good morning or good afternoon, friends and everyone. I'd like to add my thank yous to everyone. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Avi. Avi, thank you very much. Appreciate it, my friend. Want to thank our friends at the U.S. Commercial Service for everything they have done, and looking forward to working with you in the future. Want to thank our alliance partners at El Al for what they do. I had the pleasure to fly to Israel a couple of years ago with Avi, and excuse me, morning voice, Monday morning, getting everything going here. And it was a real life-changing experience for me. But one of the things I realized was what the potential is for developing tourism between our two countries. And I think Robin started to speak to that. And certainly those statistics about import and export are very important. So I thought I might start with the obvious. Well, actually, I'm going to start with one thing, which is, I don't know if everybody on the call knew this, but Imbar used to be work for El Al. Is that right, Imbar? Were you a flight attendant to Boston at one time, Imbar?
Yes, I was. I actually operated the second ever flight to Boston.
Right. So we have a specialist here. So Imbar, you have to help us as well. So that's wonderful. The current profile of business into New England through the Boston Gateway includes conferences coming in, which is very important. You have a lot of business travelers coming in to do business in the greater Boston and New England area. You have a lot of travelers coming in for education. Boston is, has dozens, if not hundreds, of universities and colleges, as does all of New England. And so the vacation part of it, coming to see friends and family and to see American history, is also a big part of it. And we want to work. I'm the tourism director in Newport, Rhode Island. We're joined today by Stacy, who my counterpart up in Boston, works for the Boston Convention and Visitors Bureau. We hope to develop more travel for all of those reasons, for conferences, for business, for education, and for vacation. I had a chance when Avi brought me to Israel. I was able to sponsor travel agent breakfasts. I went around and met with numerous tour operators. I'd like to continue to do that. And I would also say to all of you that Stacy and I are here for you. If you have VIPs that are coming, people who, conference planners, people involved with education, any realm of business, I hope you'll reach out to either me or Avi or Stacy. We'd be glad to receive them at this end and give them VIP treatment so that we can show them our region. We're very proud to have Boston as our international gateway. My coastal city of Newport, Rhode Island, is only about an hour and a half south of Boston. I think Newport feels and looks a lot like a little Boston. So we have a beautiful gateway city in Boston, but many people coming in want to travel once they may have accomplished their goals in the city in terms of whether it be business, whether it be education, whether it be conferencing. Many people are going to ask, what else is there to do in that region? And I think that's what makes New England so special, is that whether you're heading north, west, or south, you're going to find some really interesting part of the United States. And so I'm obviously biased because I sell this beautiful coastal resort, known for a number of different things, but it's known for 50 years of America's Cup sailing. I don't know if you all know this, but Avi is an accomplished sailor, and I think he could win the America's Cup someday. Newport is also home to the Newport Jazz Festival, one of the marquee events in the United States. It is known for a number of different signatures, but architecture and the Gilded Age unfolded here. And so it's an opportunity to see enormous architecture. It's really a classroom of American architecture. And so it's a very small city, but it's very robust in terms of all the things there is to do and see. And so as we promote the New England region to all Israelis, and reasons why they should come into Boston versus other areas. And Rob, and I appreciate you sharing with us the fact that England was the #1 destination, because being in the business of tourism, we often look at where we rank and how we can change rank, and that's part of all of our business. But that was interesting to learn this morning, so thank you for sharing that. And it makes sense because of geography and being closer. But if people want to see the original part of America, then they want to come into New England, they want to come into Boston, they want to come to Rhode Island. We compete very heavily with a lot of American destinations. A lot of people from the Europe area want to come over and see all the great cities in the United States, whether it be New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco. There's, Lord knows, there's plenty of destinations that people want to travel and have on your travel list. But we think that Boston needs to be on everybody's travel checklist. And once you get into our area, there's so much to see and explore. And as Avi mentioned earlier, one of the things we're very proud of in our little city of Newport, Rhode Island, is the Touro Synagogue. And the Touro Synagogue stands today as the oldest synagogue in the United States. It was not the first, but it is now the oldest synagogue in the United States. And people travel from all over the world, literally, to come visit the Touro Synagogue. I'm a proud board member of the foundation, an organization to look after the architecture, and it is a National Historic Site. It is also still a house of worship, but it can be visited on all days that are not religious days. And so it's we're very proud to have that as part of our architectural portfolio, our cultural portfolio. Our city was actually founded on religious freedom. And so a number of different religions, as our country was forming, came to Newport, Rhode Island, where they were given safe haven to practice their own religion. And hence, a journey to Newport, Rhode Island is kind of like a pilgrimage to start to see where the Jewish faith actually got started in the United States. And even more today, as we face other tolerance issues across the United States and across the world, it's very important to, I think, look at this very special area and see where religious freedom was actually given a chance to germinate and blossom in the new United States. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here because everybody on this call, I think, may have been to New England. I hope so. If you haven't, it's an invitation to join us because we want to take very good care of you. And trust me, by the time you've been courted by Stacy in Boston and Avi and I here in Rhode Island, you probably will want to move here. In any case, I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity to work with all of you. We want to work to grow tourism with you all together. And by tourism, I'm talking about conferences, business travel, educational needs, friends and relatives, all of the above, and many other reasons. I left off countless number of events that people might attend to, but for my partners, I've forgotten, Avi, you could remind me, what is the flight time from Tel Aviv to Boston? Is it like 8 hours?
I believe it's 10 hours.
Okay. All right.
Coming back at 10 and leaving it's around 8 and 10 because of some directions.
I think what I'm trying to say there is it's well worth the opportunity to see so much of the United States. A very, very special place, a recreational paradise, a cultural paradise, hundreds of reasons to actually come and visit. So we want businessmen and women who are coming on business to extend their stay, see our region. We want people who are studying here, their families who are coming to visit them to see the region, whether people are coming into medical conferences or other reasons. So I've used up the time I've allotted. I'm looking forward maybe to stopping at the U.S. Commercial Service on my next trip to Tel Aviv to shake hands with you all and say thank you. But in the meantime, a sincere invitation that should you have any clients that need personal attention here in New England, please reach out to our team here. We would be more than pleased to help you and assist you in anything you may need. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to turn it over to my counterpart, Stacy, who's probably got her running clothes on underneath her business clothes there for the marathon. But Stacy, thank you for joining us this morning. And Avi, did you want to introduce Stacy or?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you, Evan. And as I say, if there is a champion for tourism for Newport and Rhode Island, Evan Smith is a thesaurus, basically. He knows everything. He was always also very helpful. And I have to say, I'm biased perhaps, but when we have Israeli guests coming, one thing that I can do in Newport in a day, I can go from marine history to Gilded Age history to Jewish history to good food. Within American history, within like 4 hours, we can see all those things which are unique. And I've traveled the world, and the beauty of the port of Newport, the marine, the mansions is just unparalleled. So I think Israelis that come from the East Coast, especially from Israel, stopping in the East Coast, going to Boston, a day trip to Newport is always a recommendation. And when I asked, and always after that, I received, wow, we didn't know about it. So really, it's a really terrific opportunity. We have now the representative from Boston, Stacy. Thank you so much. And as I said earlier, today's a Patriots Day, Boston Marathon. So we'll let you speak, and thank you for being with us this morning.
Great, thank you so much. I am Stacy Thornton, and I am the Director of Leisure Sales for Meet Boston. And our organization, for decades, we were known as the Greater Boston Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I think you can probably tell why we had to change the name. We just wanted something friendlier, more accessible, and we just changed that at the beginning of this year. So as Evan just put it so perfectly, it's about not only having meetings and conventions and business, but really meeting Boston to get acquainted or reacquainted with our very friendly, welcoming American city. So, and thanks again for having me. It's just great to find myself in this company and to have this opportunity to talk more about Boston. And today is a very special day. in Boston, and it's actually a state holiday in Massachusetts, I believe Maine, maybe Connecticut and Wisconsin and Florida, wherever people from Massachusetts went, I think they took the holiday with them. So I'll start by just telling you a little bit about why today is so special. And Boston really is known for its revolutionary and early colonial history. And Patriots Day is always the third Monday in April. And for us, it is a harbinger of springtime. And it is usually, we can have a very late winter, late spring, but this day we call it the return of our busy season because it's the day of the Boston Marathon. But on April 19th in 1775, the very first battle of the American Revolution took place, and in an area, Lexington, Concord, and Arlington, Massachusetts.
Hello. I think we lost Stacy. You froze.
The British Army, the soldiers were going to seize some of their ammunition and weapons that they had stored. And back then, there were well-regulated militias in New England. And when they heard this, they were not happy about it and very frightened. And they gathered and they wanted to protect their storage of weapons. And that is how the first shots were fired and the skirmishes happened. And so that is the real root of Patriots Day. But we chose this day also to have the oldest marathon in the world, the Boston Marathon. And just to show how interconnected everything is in Boston, the Red Sox always play a home game on Patriots Day. And it's the only day when you will find a start time of 11 a.m. And that's because people can go to the Red Sox game, but they'll be finished in time to be able to cheer runners that are crossing the finish line of the marathon and not miss that. So if that doesn't kind of show you a little bit about who we are as a city, and how sports crazy and proud of our history that Boston is, I really don't know what does. So just quickly, a little bit about me. I'm not a New Englander, but I came to New England for a reason that people from all over the world have come here. I came for my education and I went to Boston University. But I did grow up on the East Coast of the USA. And in preparing for this call, I really looked into our history as a country. And I have to admit, I didn't realize just how big our Jewish communities are on the East Coast compared to the rest of the world. I mean, I was pretty staggered. I grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. My family is Eastern European and German immigrants. And that's very true of where the Jewish population of Boston and New England came from. And because I'm a Philadelphian and I've lived in Massachusetts for more than 20 years, I can be a bit irreverent about Boston history. I think Evan was really kind when he said that Rhode Island is founded on religious freedom, and they were actually fleeing Massachusetts, religious persecution in Massachusetts, because as you know, we were founded by Puritans, and now the Puritan influence is still at work in America, but there have been a lot of other influences as well. And a lot of that has come out of Boston. And so that is no longer really the dominant one. But thanks for everyone for your introduction about Boston as the gateway to New England. And already you've said so many things about the accessibility of our airport. We are on an island, and we are really one of the shortest distances from an airport to the downtown. And we do have free transportation from the airport into the city. So we have a service called the Silver Line. It picks you up at each terminal. It's free, and it takes you to our major transportation hub where there's Amtrak, and that's called South Station. And you can connect anywhere in our system. But if you do stay at one of the 16 hotels in Boston Seaport, that Silver Line will take you right into that neighborhood. So And just another word too about Newport, Rhode Island, even though it's only 90 minutes south of Boston, it really does have a magical climate. So whatever's happening in Boston, I can guarantee you that it's usually a lot warmer and just really special out there. I think when you get onto the Atlantic coast, even this is even true off of Massachusetts, we have the islands of of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. There's just something magic. And Evan probably knows more about scientifically why that is, but there's warm air and just beautiful climate that I love going to Newport to experience. So as far as top reasons to come to Boston, I think I mentioned the sports. We've already talked about the cuisine. So we do have cuisine from all over the world. We even have some Israeli chefs that have come to Boston and opened some restaurants, and I see some nods. So maybe you've tried some of those, and from the Boston Public Market to the Seaport. But we are, of course, famous for our New England seafood, which is as fresh as it gets and really wonderful. And then we have really good farm to table restaurants that feature a combination of traditional and modern New England cuisine, and arts and culture are really big. And sometimes people like to hear famous Jewish Bostonians that were actually born here. And I'll just name two that are really fun because of music and showbiz. So our Jewish communities in the Boston area, really it's Boston, the city itself. Our population in Boston is just under 700,000, which is really small for a major city, but it's really our metropolitan area and the workers that come in that kind of surge that to about 2 million. But our Jewish population is around 238,000. And the neighborhoods where this community is most present would be Boston itself. We had an area called the West End, and also the community of Roxbury, East Boston, but then we have surrounding communities of Chelsea, Brookline, Sharon, Massachusetts, and Newton being the biggest. And so from the West End, Leonard Nimoy was born, and for many, many years, you would go to our Museum of Science, and he would be the one narrating the show at the theater there. And then secondly, Leonard Bernstein is from Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is a factory mill town just northwest of Boston. And I was reading about him recently, and you know, like so many great American songwriters and musicians, I'm a huge fan of the Great American Songbook and Irving Berlin and so much of the great American music tradition that we associate with like Tin Pan Alley or early jazz, or it comes out of spiritual music from Africa, but also the synagogue. And so Bernstein went to synagogue in Roxbury, and then he studied music with the Boston Symphony Orchestra out at their summer home, Tanglewood, and he performed his first recital at the New England Conservatory and was educated here before going to make a big career for himself in New York City. So the other things that Boston is known for would be our medical research, biotech, technology, and innovation. So I think many of you are very familiar with Boston's Trails to Freedom. We tell the American story of, I mentioned American Revolution, we have the Freedom Trail, but we also have the Black Heritage Trail, and we have a new trail that came out organically in the last 10 years. And now we have public tours that are launching in May, and private tours for tour operators can be organized through one of our local tour companies, Boston and Cambridge Historical Tours, and that's called the Innovation Trail. So the Innovation Trail covers sites in both Boston, along the Freedom Trail, and then heading over into Cambridge in an area called Kendall Square. This is one of the most innovative square miles in the world for where research is happening, and MIT is located there. It's the headquarters for companies like Akamai that manages the largest portion of traffic on the internet. So I urge everybody to check out the innovationtrail.org, because we feel it's one of the most interesting tours you can take in Boston right now, because you will learn about things that really did change the world. And just a great example of the people that are in Boston and connected to these stories. We have, we're famous also for our hospitals and the Longwood medical area. People come from all over the world to have treatments there. And I'll just tell you one quick story. We have a doctor named Sidney Farber, and this ties back also to the Boston Red Sox, because the Red Sox have an official charity, and it's been the case for more than 50 years, and it's called the Jimmy Fund. And the Jimmy Fund is something that raises money for children with cancer. And Dr. Farber was really instrumental in helping to find treatments for children with cancer, and specifically children with leukemia. And at the time, he's from Buffalo, New York, but like me, he came to Boston for education. And how am I doing on time? Because I just want to keep an eye
Yeah,
here.
give you a few more minutes.
Few more minutes? Okay. Yeah, this is a great story. So I'll tell you quickly. So back in the 1920s, I learned that there were just a lot of medical schools in the US that would not, they didn't admit women, of course, but they would not, admit, Jewish students that wanted to study medicine. So Farber had to actually go to Germany to begin his medical studies. He was fluent in German, but then by his second year, he was performing so well as a student that Harvard brought him over, and he eventually ended up teaching at Harvard. And so, and then just to fast forward, later on, Harvard actually ended up having a very high proportion of Jewish students. But Dr. Farber was, he focused on cancer. And at that time, children really mostly, if you had leukemia, you pretty much died. And some of the things with the Innovation Trail, the odds are impossible. So just like the American Revolution, when you have a country that a young colony that's facing the strongest empire in the world, the odds with some of these medical challenges are just as daunting. I mean, so this was not a popular field of study, because it was really just putting money into something that just seemed so impossible to treat. But Sidney Farber's motto was, "There's no such thing as a hopeless case." And so he is known as the father of chemotherapy, and they came up with some scientific breakthroughs that helped to actually start to fight this cancer that was killing children. So that's just one story of innovation and kind of going against the odds. But we have just like so many of them in Boston. So when you're here, I think we do also. Evan was talking about the oldest congregation in New England, which starts well before ours in the Boston community. But in Brookline, we do have the second oldest congregation in New England. So that would be the Temple Ohabe Shalom, which I think means lovers of peace. And then we have on the Freedom Trail, we have our New England Holocaust Memorial, and right on Boston Common, Tremont Street. We just unveiled this year a very special sculpture to commemorate Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King, his wife, whom he met in Boston when he was a divinity student at Boston University, and she was studying music at the New England Conservatory. So right on that site, we have in development a Boston Holocaust Education Center and Museum. I don't have an opening date for it yet. They have the property, but the feeling is Washington, D.C. has its own but it's still far from New England. And one of the programs that the founders of this museum would like to do is they want to send students to travel. So to travel to Israel, to travel to sites that are significant. So we're really excited to have that in Boston. And so I think, so we have some time for some conversations and some questions. I will, I'll leave it at that for now. But as Evan said, we are here to grow tourism and to support the needs of our airline partners and tour operators. And Meet Boston, we will be at IPW in San Antonio at the third week of May, and we'll be in the New England row. We have a really strong presence with some attractions and hotels. So for anyone attending that trade show, certainly come and meet with us. I know the U.S. Commercial Service will be there as well.
ספרנו אולי 15, רובם אורחים מישראל.
Hello. We lost Stacy.
Oh, I'm here. Was that a question? I'm sorry.
Let's Stacy finish, and then we'll open it after that for questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think that's enough, for now. I just think there's so many possibilities of what you can do when you come to Boston as the gateway and New England, really like possibilities for hubbing and spoking. We're connected via Amtrak to other East Coast cities, such as New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and of course, we also are close to Atlantic Canada, and with great connections to Montreal and to Toronto. We have cruise product, that classic New England cruise that will go up the coast and into Atlantic Canada, ending in Montreal and Quebec City. And I was interested to learn about the partnership with JetBlue as well, which I wasn't aware of. In addition, JetBlue has expanded internationally, and now they have flights from Boston to London. So if that's a really popular destination, you can go from London to Boston, and also they're expanding their service between New York, Boston, Paris, and Amsterdam, with dates for that coming soon. So we're excited just to welcome everyone and to have our international travelers back.
Thank you, Stacy. So we want to open it in a couple of seconds to questions, but if you summary for Israelis, number one, in Boston alone, there is more than, by some estimates, more than 20,000 Israelis. There are some of them in Rhode Island. But if you look at the summary, the sports scene, to those who love seeing the Celtics and the Patriots in football, and again, Patriots are halfway from Providence and Newport, music, science, history, food, the sea, innovation. There's a tremendous things to see here for Israelis, and the New England hospitality is just absolutely fantastic. What I would like to do is, number one, before we go to Inbar and she will manage the questions and then the answers, I want to thank our speaker, to Robin Kessler, to Lihi, to Mark Cavalier, to Evan Smith, and to Stacy. And Inbar, I want to thank you for organizing, initiating it. Inbar, take it over, and then please manage also the Q&A. Thank you, Inbar.
Thank you, Avi. Can you see if there are any questions, or if anyone wants to hop on and ask anything?
I think we have a small crowd, so if you have any question, just ask. Baruch, I think you had a question there.
No, I don't have any question.
Someone started to have earlier a question.
I think that was just an open mic.
Oh, okay.
There was from the radio something, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I would say this, which is that I know there's no government, Israeli government officials on. We're pleased to have the U.S. Commercial Service here, but if there is an award given by the Israeli government for ambassadorial work and business development, someone over there should recognize Avi Neville This man is one of the greatest gifts in the United States. He promotes Israel all the time, and there should be some type of award given to him. And I would be glad to reach out to somebody to advocate for that, because I hope sincerely that someone appreciates what he does to promote Israeli-U.S. relations at every level, education, science, manufacturing, all forms of business development, including tourism. This man is just...
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, so I think they need a statue of you someplace, Avi. So anyway, all these wonderful things happen because of your energy.
Thank you, but let's focus on Boston and Newport. And I have to say also, we have to mention Providence. Providence is the capital of Rhode Island. It's a beautiful state. How to those Israelis who don't know, and that's another part of the region, the Industrial Revolution. To those who don't know, Israel calls itself a startup nation, rightfully so. In Rhode Island, we had the Industrial Revolution. It started basically, and it's equivalent of startup nation. In Pawtucket, Rhode Island, there's a museum. So again, it's all in a distance of less than a day, an hour driving. And for the Israelis, to give them a feel of distance, so if you need to go from, let's say, Kiryat Ono to the beaches in Tel Aviv or to Jaffa, it's probably the same time. Traffic is very busy in Israel, so the distance is longer, but time-wise, within an hour, hour and a half max, you can go back and forth to Boston, to Newport, to Providence. And so I think it's an easy area. And the public transportation, to those who want public transportation, it's very available. Also, from Logan, you can go take the bus to Newport or to Providence. And of course, you are in Boston. So as Ms. Stacy mentioned, is a public transportation. So basically, again, I will not remiss, and again, I'm helping Israelis that's coming here as friends and dignitaries that's coming here through the years, and they never disappointed. They're always surprised to see how much there is to see in this region. And again, if you're a tour operator in Israel, you have a huge opportunity to make something very exciting for your customers. And again, you know, some people keep kosher, but those who don't keep kosher, the food here is amazing. The kosher food is good too. Inbar, I'll let you finish the session unless someone else want to say something else.
I have one more question before Inbar goes. It's a request for our friends at the Commercial Service, which is, I would like to be educated as to, are there any type of travel trade shows in Israel that we should consider attending? I know you may not know that here on a Monday morning or afternoon, but in some cases, many different nations have travel trade shows where they assemble their larger tour operators, their travel media, their larger travel agencies. And so if such a show exists in Israel, perhaps you could reach out to us and let us know. Because we would, in addition to sales missions and coming to Israel to do one-on-one appointments, we'd also like to consider if there's any shows over there. So that might be a bit of homework for our partners at the Commercial Service. So thank you.
Sure. I can say that there is one of the largest shows here in the region, happens here in Israel, happens once a year. And also the Israeli Ministry of Tourism organizes conferences and events that are worth checking. So I'll be happy to send the information to anyone interested. So if there aren't any more questions, I will just like to say on behalf of us, the U.S. Commercial Service, we also would like to thank everyone for joining us. I do hope that you enjoyed hearing everything that Newport, Rhode Island, and Boston have to offer, from Jewish heritage, beautiful parks, rich cultural scenes, and more. But please remember, this was only a small taste. There is so much more to see, and we hope to see you in New England soon. As my partners here said, Meet Boston, Rhode Island, Israel Collaborative, Discover Newport, and El Al all stand to serve and assist you in your travels. I will reiterate, I'm a commercial specialist here in Israel in the U.S. Embassy, and I manage the travel and tourism sector. My team and I and Robin are happy to support any industry activities between Israel and the States, so please feel free to contact me or any one of the panelists for everything. Last but not least, a very special thank you to Avi, Evan, Stacy, Mark, and Leahy for this event. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Inbar. And to those, we will record, as I said, that's recorded, we'll process it, and we'll take the presentation and send it by email probably next week to everyone. I just want to give one more mentioning, and thanks to the commercial service. We constantly working with them, and as a matter of fact, we have another event coming May 3rd in person in Newport, promoting export from Rhode Island and New England of military equipment and homeland security, and that will be in person in Newport May 3rd, so you can go on our webpage and register yourself. It's free. So again, thank you everybody. Have a good day, and definitely let's continue this discussion about tourism to our region, to Rhode Island, to Newport, to Boston, Massachusetts, and New England. Thank you everybody, and have a good day.
Thank
Hello,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good
Bye.
week. Bye.
Bye.